Dear students, today we are going to talk about Participatory Rural Appraisal, the acronym of which is PRA. What is Participatory Rural Appraisal? It is a set of tools and techniques used with households to gather and analyze information on community resources, problems, potential, and needs. Now, who are these households? These households are people either living in urban areas or people living in rural areas. The question comes, why is PRA used? It is used to analyze the current situation and potential in a village or community. Secondly, to analyze problems and their causes. And lastly, to support households to identify activities that respond to difficulties and opportunities. How is PRA conducted? The PRA is conducted with a group of households from a village or a hamlet that work with facilitators. Now, the question comes, who is a facilitator? Facilitator is a person who makes things easy for others. So, facilitators work with group of households, and these facilitators could be an extension agent or could be a community leader or anyone who could be very good help to the households. PRA is not a teaching method, or it is not about lecturing. Households and facilitators learn together. Now, what does it mean? It means they have both are in one status. No one is superior, no one is inferior. So, facilitators work with and listen to households. It is not top to down approach, but rather it's about giving equality. Materials and equipment required for this experiment is locally available materials. For example, it could be wheat flour or any kind of flour, bricks, stones, seeds of any sorts, then small pieces of colored paper or cards. These are very useful. Here, pictures can be drawn or they can be labeled to represent things. Then we require some paper and pens. These are used to record the results of exercises. A4 folders, A4 paper, and colored pens are needed for facilitators to record the results. Chalk can also be useful for making drawings on the ground, or it could be either the various kinds of condiments like garam masala, some kind of turmeric powder, chili powder, etc. can also be used. There are 4 PRA principles. Number 1 is participation. Participation relies on PRA activities, or rather, PRA relies heavily on participation by communities, as the method is designed to enable local people to be involved not only as sources of information but as partners with the PRA team in gathering and analyzing the information. Secondly, the second principle is principle of optimal ignorance. This means not trying to find out more than needed and not trying to measure what doesn't need to be measured. So it's about appropriate imprecision. It means not measuring more accurately than is necessary for practical purposes. Third principle is offsetting biases. Though different, not developing a favorable attitude towards someone, one should treat them equally. Who are these them? These people are community people. Fourth principle is about cross-checking by using different methods. That is also called as triangulation method. One of the major problem of PRA results are their validation. So triangulation is a technique which validates the results. It is a principle employed in choosing different methods, locations, interviews, interviewees, team members, often a minimum of 3, thus the term triangulation, in order to improve the accuracy of the picture generated by the learning process. There are various PRA tools. For example, Transect walk, Venn diagram, resource mapping, social mapping, matrix scoring, etc. Let us learn about transect walk. So transect walk and guided field walks, the researcher and the key informants here conduct a walking tour through areas of interest to observe, to listen, to identify different zones or conditions, and to ask questions to identify problems and possible solutions. With this method, the outsider can quickly learn about topography, soils, land use, forest watershed, and community assets. So let us look into the case study example of transit diagram in Bangladesh. We see in the figure here the resources, usage, problems and recommendations in various zones of the area in a household area is being depicted. So Venn diagram is another tool. This is used to show the relationship between things. Overlapping circles are used to represent people, villages or institutions. Lines are added to reflect inputs and outputs. Now largely distant circles, these means there is no or little contact or cooperation. Circles that are close to each other, only loose contacts exist, this means that. And the touching circles means some cooperation, and overlapping circle means close cooperation. So this is how it shows the relationship between things, people, institutions, villages, etc. Resource mapping. Here, resource maps are visual, it means visual depiction of the location and condition of the natural resources of a community, such as where are the ponds, that is bodies of water, irrigation sources, drainage systems, etc. It also means crop development, cropping pattern, levels of productivity, and topography, terrain and slopes, forest vegetation and species, land and land use, tenure, boundaries, and ownership. So let us have a look at the example. Social mapping is a PRA method that involves sketching of houses and other social facilities and infrastructure. Now, these facilities and infrastructure examples are temple, stores, rice mills, school, pharmacy, trails, roads, water pumps, irrigation and recreation facilities in a village. The other important method of PRA tool is metric ranking and scoring. So metric ranking means putting in order, and metric scoring means weighing differences. So there are objectives of matrix ranking and scoring, that is to rank and prioritize identified items, that is values of various shrubs and plants, objects, problems, solutions, project ideas. For example, if you want to rank and see the priority of a fodder species, so it is an example of a plant or a shrub, the value of it, how the farmers are going to rank it as number one, their favorite fodder plant is, number two, their favorite plant in that order is, number third favorite is this. The second objective is to generate reasons why people choose one item from the other, and also to explore the difference between different groups' perception. Perception is how you see things. And then it is also about doing strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis, or in short, SWOT analysis. Matrix ranking is used to list items to be compared along one line and criteria on the other line to rank choices from most important to least important. So the most important are given marks as first, second, and the least important are getting third, fourth marks or numbering. In this case, frequency of the items valued as the first choice helps us to make up the final decision. Now, if you look at the metric ranking of most efficient mode of transport, the elements and the judging criteria are written side by side. We see the element walk, car, bus, bicycle and cart are given, and here the judging criteria is by cost, frequency, availability, energy and time. So walking is considered as most efficient method in terms of cost, in terms of frequency, in terms of availability, but is the least preferred method in terms of energy and time. And car, in terms of cost, is the least efficient method, while in terms of energy and time, it is the most effective method. So is the case with bus. In terms of cost, it is not so efficient, but in terms of frequency, it is not so interesting. Availability, again the same, but for energy and time, it's a good option. Similarly for bicycle and cart. So we see that the most people that I think they have followed walking as their one of the most efficient mode of transport. Matrix scoring, so it attaches a score to a comparable item against each criteria listed before a choice. A comparison could be made between many items. So in the matrix scoring technique, we see that we have eggplant, lettuce, tomatoes, sorrel, Bambi green, nana, bitter tomatoes, koren, carini, cassava, okra, onion, cabbage, hot pepper, mango, sweet pepper. So more durable in terms of storage. If we look into eggplant, it is not so much. Lettuce, not so much. And if we look into mango, and it's again not so much, but if we look into papaya, or sorry, hot pepper, it is really very good and more durable in terms of storage. And if we look into more cash yielding, then we see that mango, sweet pepper, onions and cassava, they are more cash yielding, more blood giving. If we look into tomatoes are least and onions are least. Rest, eggplant, lettuce is even better than eggplant and cassava. Now more energy giving, then sorrel is giving least. Then we have mango, hot pepper, they're also not in a good situation. Then if I look into the criteria more marketable, then I see Barambi green and mango are really more marketable. So this is a matrix scoring technique.